You asked to see the boss, so they sent B-Dog. What's up, my dudes? We got the track review of BAC 2019 Fox Raceway made by B-Dog on the forums. So, let me just give you guys let me paint a little picture here. It's quite interesting, right? This track right here, if it had about, I don't know, 20, 30% more pre-made roughness, pre-made ruts, this is exactly what I would have thought. This is where I thought we would have been in RF racing in 2019 outdoors if RF, like the old school RF, was still doing what they used to do and what we've all come to know and love, and making pre-made tracks and not going in there and having the whole weird road system and all that. This is what I would expect it to be. Pretty much like this, but like I say, about 20 or 30% more pre-made ruts and roughness, because I think this track is actually made for erode, if I'm not mistaken, but it still is. I mean, just the way the jump skill gap, how big you're jumping, that sort of overall. I know this is a perfect example of where they've went wrong with the whole traction in the modern day RF tracks. So basically, there's way too much friction in the modern day RF tracks. I don't know why they feel the need to put so much goddamn friction, but it makes it feel like you're barely even moving. You know, you're not even going anywhere. You're in super deep sand on every single track. This to me feels more like a realistic motocross traction. It doesn't have quite as much friction to it. You can actually get going quite a bit faster. You can kind of get going that scary speed fast, you know what I mean? They've just slowed everything down with the modern day RF pro racing in this game in every way. The road slows everything down. Literally, you're going like half the speed of what you used to go in this game, just because of how janky and weird it makes the roughness and how slow you have to go, and how you have to tiptoe on your Jordans so you don't just slide all over the place. This is me kind of reminiscing and imagining, you know, just the way he designed this, and the bigger jump design, less friction, not as much built around a road, you know what I'm saying? Not perfectly smooth corners and no roughness. It still has some, even though I would expect a little bit more. This to me is more like what I would think if you were able to continue that amazing old school RF like back in the days of 14, 15, 16, 17, but just like completely skipped a road, completely didn't do any of that, and just kind of kept that going through 2018, like your old school amazing RF, kept that going through 2018, 2019. This is more like what I would expect from that. You know what I mean? This is more like what I would want to see. And of course, this guy's not going to have the same resources to put all the banners and the pro, make it look like have all the pro objects and all that kind of stuff. So I know it's missing a little bit on that side of it, but just imagine if it had all that, and this was, like I say, 20, 30% more pre-made ruts in the corners. You could really get into them. Pre-made roughness, a little bit more of that. Dude, that would have been 10,000 times more fun than what the hell we were riding on in this modern day RF version of the Fox Raceway. Like, good God, this would have been so much better. This shit right here, boy. I believe I can fly. Oh, shit. Oh, God. Talking about a huck and a half, bro. That is so badass. I think they've lost a lot of that in the modern day RF, especially with the MX tracks. They've lost a lot of the jump skill gap. They've lost a lot of that really feeling like you're really jumping up in the air. I think they're trying way too hard to make it one-to-one scale type replica stuff, and sometimes when you do that on MX Sim, it can kind of eliminate some of the fun factor, some of the fun of it. Like they try too hard to make it like exact one-to-one scale. The funny part about it is, and the sort of little shot this dude took at RF when he posted this track on the forums, was he called it the 2019 Fox Raceway track, but in parentheses he put but actually accurate. You know what I mean? Because if you guys don't know, basically with RF, they make the tracks before they even actually ride on them in real life, which is completely retarded. You guys know I've been totally against that ever since they've done that. They shouldn't even do the pro racing on MX Simulator till the week after that exact event. That way you can get the track more accurate to the way it was in real life, especially if it's like a mudder or whatever. It's so stupid going in here and pro racing on MX Simulator on a certain like supercross track or whatever, completely dry, completely normal track, and then in real life it's like a complete mudder, totally different track. You feel like you're riding on some other planet, some other series, you know what I mean? You don't even feel like you're actually riding on that real life track. But the other little problem they have when they do that is they're running off of track maps. And as you guys probably know, if you know motocross, a lot of times they completely change sections, do completely different stuff than what they had originally on the track map, or they'll change like a section after practice or do something like that. So a lot of times you're not even getting that same track at all. I remember that one year, good God, what was that in? That was in like 2000, I don't know if that was like 13 or 12 or something in this game. I'm trying to think back exactly, but it was a track that I went to. It was the one of the Supercross races in Arlington, Texas. Pretty sure it was in like 2013. I can't remember the exact year of it, but basically, so I was like trying to find that track in MX Simulator because I know it would have been made in there, but I tried to go find it, and that certain year of that Arlington track was literally an entirely different track, like totally 100% completely different track. I was like, what the hell? This is not the track I remember seeing in real life. This is not like, I've seen helmet cams of that track as well, that 2012 or 13 Arlington, whichever which year it was. And basically, I found they had made a completely different version because of how different their original version was. They made a totally different version of it that was actually like the real track. I mean, it's just so insane. Like, you should never do that. You should never go in there and have the pro racing on whichever track it is the week before, because you're not even getting the right. I mean, I noticed another example of that on the Hangtown this year. They went in there and had, the huge Hangtown, the massive like triple jump at Hangtown, whatnot, right? Basically, they made it like the old school rollers, and I don't know, I'm guessing that's how it was on the track map. There was no jump there at all on the RF 2019 Hangtown. It was just like the simple rollers, and then I watch it on TV, and it's got a jump there. You guys remember freaking Roxon, I'm pretty sure, passed Tomac right there, right? He went ahead and jumped it, and Tomac didn't. Well, on MX Simulator, it was just some rollers right there. There was no jump at all. So, come on now, RF. There is no excuses for that. That's just, I don't even know why you do that. I have no idea. I just don't even see the point in that at all. I think it's just more they're being lazy with it. They're just like, we're just going to go off the track map, is what it is, versus like, let's build this track off the track map and then watch it in real life and change some of these sections a little bit. They don't want to put that kind of time in there, which is stupid, because you're supposed to be giving us the exact real life racing experience, most realistic. It's a simulator. That's the whole point of it. You see where you're going wrong there, RF? Like, that's something you should put the time into, because that's the whole point of the whole thing. But either way, this track right here was a ton of fun, man. Way more fun jump, skill gap, fun factor in that kind of sense. I could sit here and ride on this track 10 times as long, even in solo with no erode, than I could that RF Fox Raceway track. Good God, that shit was terrible. This is how you make more of a flat track and flat style track right here. This is how you do it, with still giving it fun factor. And even in some of the corners with the smaller ruts, he's still got more of a berm right there, so not perfectly smooth. Still got some of that pre-made roughness, so not perfectly smooth. It's just better, I feel like, in every way. It may look a little more basic, may look a little more just like a random custom track, but that's because you're not seeing all of the banners and the official, like, pro racing Lucas Oil motocross crap around it. It just looks like a standard random ride day at Paula, you know what I mean? But this is where it's at, dog. And I know this B-Dog dude's been going in there making a lot of the replica tracks of a lot of the races, but it just goes to prove, like I'm saying, look at how big that berm is on the outside right there. So it gives you that multi-line option. You guys always hear me talking about with the tracks that are made for erode, it's really hard to get multiple lines going if you don't have the erode turned on. And the problem with that is, well, some of you guys might say, well, just go turn the erode on, Spitzer. Like, obviously that's what it's made for. Well, the problem with that is most of the time people don't want to fucking do that when they're just going in there and wanting to test a track out in single player offline, or like, it's so hard to actually get the right amount of people with the perfect amount of erode to where it doesn't make it too much and super janky, unrideable, or where it's even making enough to even do anything anyway. It's so hard to do that as it is. That's such a task in itself as it is, that if you don't have one solid ass pre-made track before you ever start putting erode on it, you're going to be in a pickle and a half. Your track's just going to be boring as shit. It's going to be flat tracking, no fun factor. 9 out of 10 people are not even going to ride with the road on it anyways because they just want to go in there and test out the track. I know that for a fact. That's how a lot of people ride on tracks in this game. So this is way more of that kind of fun feeling, like way more jump fun factor, not that super sand friction. You actually feel like you're getting up to proper speed on this track. Way more fun jumps. This feels way more like the real life track versus what the hell we had in RF. I mean, man, like, it's crazy. But like I'm saying, it is a little bit more smoothed out. Like I say, I think he did make this track for erode, even though it feels a lot better on the base version of it than the RF track did. But still yet, like, if he would have went in there and basically just made it like 20-30% more roughness, made the ruts 20-30% bigger in the corners, and then just had no erode, this is exactly what I feel like if you brought all those old school dudes from RF back in here into making this stuff without erode, this is what it would be like. This is what that amazing 2019 RF amazing experience like you thought you were going to get back in those days. You thought that's what you were going to have nowadays in 2019 instead of this weird-ass horse shit that we do have, this like nightmare effect that we have going on with RF right now. You know, this is what I would be like, oh yeah, that would be the perfect scenario of what I would be thinking that they would be having in this game in 2019 if it was that old school RF that we come to know and love without this weird erode system. This is more like what it would be like. Obviously a little more pepped up roughness in the ruts to have more skill gap, more lines to hit and stuff, but other than that, as far as jump fun factor, skill gap, friction to the track, all that's way more like I would be expecting that to be versus what we actually got in RF with the Fox Raceway. So either way, dude, sick track, tons of fun. Even just being a Paula track in general on MX Simulator is pretty cool. Even if you're not one to run any erode on it, you can still have a crap load of fun. I mean, different lines like this right here, go up the inside, lots of skill gap through this section because you don't want to over jump this jump, because then you're not going to be able to huck this all the way. You know, huck this completely up and over to here. Dude, that would have been so badass to see everybody jumping that in the pros. You almost need a little bit of a longer gearing for that too. I was barely getting enough of it with my certain gearing that I run. And then this double right here, really fun. A lot more of a kind of a slope downhill, so you got to be a lot more precise with your landings, whereas a lot of these modern RF motocross tracks, it's like they're relying on their erode to make the whole track. It's like they're relying on the erode to make the fun factor and the skill gap, and what it does is it makes it to where their pre-made version of the track is just completely ass Play-Doh boring. Nobody wants to ride on it for more than 2 laps. That's basically what happens with it. So, you know, it's kind of like a one-time deal. Like if you're not riding on there with 40 other people with a certain amount of erode, it's not going to make the track properly. And that's really disappointing because it kind of kills all of the longevity of the track too, and the replayability for those people 2 or 3 years from now that just want to hop on that 2019 Fox Raceway RF track to just test it out. They're going to be like, wow, this is literally fucking retarded, because I don't really have anybody else who wants to ride on this. I don't want to turn a road on with one guy. That's kind of stupid, you know, and man, I never even thought about that, but that is going to completely kill. You know how you can still go back and ride on like 2015 RF national tracks, 2014 RF supercross tracks? There's still a complete load of fun and a half. Like you can still go back and ride on those to this day because they're so well pre-made. And if you kill that well pre-made aspect, you're going to completely kill the going back and playing those older tracks and the legacy of what we're riding on nowadays. Nobody's going to want to do it. Nobody's going to want to go ride on 2019 national tracks when we get 2 or 3 years down the line. It's going to be just like a complete tombstone of MX Simulator national tracks. Like no one's going to want to go back and ride on that because it's not fun to ride on those tracks that are pre-made, 100% made for a road. Like that's not fun at all unless you, like I say, unless you have the perfect amount of people with perfect amount of your road, which is pretty much impossible to get it like that anyways. They can't even do it in the damn pro racing. So either way, dude, thick shout out to you for this track. Really cool. Way better friction, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to give this thing like I'm going to give it probably like a 8 overall. If you had a little bit more of the off-track banners, objects, stuff like that, and you had a little bit more of the pre-made, you definitely could have had a 10 out of 10 overall base track right here, but still really cool design, really cool stuff going on. So either way, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later, dudes.